One of the mainstays of fantasy role-playing games has been the intrusion of a small group of experts into some terrible place they're not supposed to be. And one interesting take on it of the last year or so has been the mix of OSR ideas with Powered by the Apocalypse rules to give us Vagabonds of Die Fit. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, according to the author, it's Die Fit, regardless of whatever regional spelling and pronunciation you may have grown up with. And this slender box is the box which contains the Vagabonds Cyclopedia. And what is the Vagabonds Cyclopedia, you may ask? Well, if Vagabonds of Dyfed could be taken as our basic, then maybe this could be taken as our expert, or something more than that. It follows a design philosophy of packing a lot of information into a small space and making good use of that space for legibility and access. The original was noteworthy in that it specifically paid attention to reading on handheld devices such as phones. Here we see that we have less than 100 pages, but it can completely change the way that you're playing the game. We have different ways to randomly or intentionally create characters with backgrounds. We go deeper into injuries, connections between characters, the effect of reputation, magic is expanded, there's new techniques for roleplay, and a variety of new classes. And so you end up truly being able to expand your game without having to spend an awful lot of time reading or searching, and without increasing the footprint that the books make on the table, as although they are square, they are thin. So let's continue to rend this package asunder. It's interesting. It seems to be a lottery whether or not you'll get a pull tab, which allows you to easily evade the spread of the glue, or if you get this, where if you choose the wrong end, as I seem to have done, you wind up having to tear the whole thing apart. But maybe that's entertaining for you, the viewer. I don't know. It was certainly therapeutic for me, the terror, although not so great for the packing slip. So finally, we find the Vagabonds Cyclopedia, and for one of the very few times on the channel, it's actually right side up and pointed the right way, the Vagabonds Cyclopedia. So of course, because it's correct, we've gone out of focus, but in a moment we will address that, and here we go. The Vagabonds Cyclopedia with this very purple theme, taking on the bluer theme of the original. They're both in this square format, and both take their inspirational cover art quite seriously. People in trouble in a place where they're not really supposed to be. So let's go on a little journey, and you see it has a nice glossy finish. And, well, look what we have going on. And, imagine what you could get up to with the game. This shape, this square shape, is interesting. It's not quite the landscape that we've seen in the recent John Carter of Mars, and it's certainly not the tiny digest, so it's easier to open and takes less table space, and it's certainly very comfortable to read and gives you this very large open space where you could add in your own notes or post-it notes or whatever without impacting your ability to read the existing text. And it's really easy to read on a digital device. Very clear font, and all that extra white space makes it a lot easier to zoom in and zoom out on different parts in case you need to. As you can see, everything is very clearly labeled, so it's easy to find. Not only is it labeled on the side, but we have large, very bold, striking headers, and very clear sections through each of the pages. So it's really hard to fault the layout in terms of usability. We have a variety of different art, including taking your dog along while you adventure. And we see that the last listed page, or last listed item, starts on page 85. So again, as we said, not too thick. It's an easy read, but it can have a huge impact on how you play.